It is the fourth annual 24-hour talk show coming up from the Palms next Friday. It begins at 10 a.m. And this year, the 2009 Sportsman of the Year goes to Dana White. And some of the other UFC fighters that you can bid on include Matt Serra, Rashad Evans, Chuck Liddell, Amir Sadala, Stephan Bonner. There's Mike Swick on the card, a lot of other local celebrities as well. Ariani, the Octagon Girl's up there. And you can go to the website, espn1100.com. And also, a legend in the sport, a true legend when it comes to the UFC, Randy Couture. You can bid on his hour at 4 o'clock for next Friday as well. He joins us right now. Randy, thanks so much for the time today. How are you?
You bet, I'm good. Yeah, everything's good.
I'll get your thoughts on Lesnar in a second, but going back to you, a couple years ago when you wanted a little bit more money, you were away from the sport for about a year. Now, of course, you're back with the UFC. When you see guys now getting the bigger pay dates and the gates are doing so well, what do you think about that as well? You're basically the trailblazer now when it comes to Kurt Flood was in Major League Baseball, but you wanted more money, and now everybody else that came after you, they're actually reaping the rewards for that.
Well, I think a lot of what happened didn't have a ton to do with more pay. Well, more pay was one of the issues, but. And I think there's still some room there. If you consider we're constantly talking about how much we, much better we do than boxing. Then I don't think there's any MMA fighter alive that's ever been paid like some of these boxers have been paid. So there's still some room for improvement there, and I think it's going to continue to improve. I think he's doing a great job of taking care of a lot of the fighters. There's a lot more shows, a lot more guys get a chance to make a living in this sport now, and those are all positive things. I never really look at myself as any kind of a trailblazer or anything like that. I've just been having the good fortune to do what I love to do for the last 12 years.
Now, you've said since that fight Saturday night that obviously what Brock Lesnar did after it was over with was pretty despicable, but at the same time, you thought that you saw a lot of improvement in his game, huh?
Yeah, if I analyze him technically, he did a much better job. He played position, he made Mir carry his weight. He picked his shots. He didn't flail away. He did a lot. We saw a couple leg kicks from him. We hadn't seen that in the past, and they weren't bad. They looked pretty good. So technically, he's as I suspected he would be. He's going to get better each and every time he steps out there. And I think he's on the right road. The antics and the attitude and all the other stuff is. It's just not something we've come to expect or spend a lot of time building a reputation in mixed martial arts that isn't like that, and that was upsetting. I think there isn't a lot of us fighters that have been around for a long time that want to be associated with that sort of stuff.
No, I'm guessing that it's. Are you okay with trash talk though in general?
Hyping a fight and trash talking, and there's a little bit of psychological warfare there. And I think Mir and Lesnar did that before the fight, and I didn't really have a huge issue with that. We've seen, Tito kind of laid down the standard for that, of course, and we've seen other guys flip off the crowd and other things. Those weren't, although, not called for and not necessarily something I'd like to see, but, that wasn't even that bad, really. But, busting out one of the major sponsors and all the other comments, just took it to a different level, and it felt a lot like the WWE to me, which is something that I think we've worked hard not to be associated with.
Dana also said in the presser that yes, it's taken a while. He hasn't gotten him yet, but obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Fedor and him coming over to the UFC as well. But Dana was adamant about it. He said, "I'm going to get him. I will get this guy." And let's say that Dana White does get and deliver Fedor. Do you think that you deserve a shot against him before anybody else?
Well, not only do I think I deserve a shot at him, I think that it was kind of part of the agreement in settling our differences and coming back to the UFC that they were going to be diligent about trying to find a way to make that fight happen. And I'm a patient guy, and ultimately what I really want to do is just fight. So I'm certainly not going to hold my breath for Fedor or anybody else. I'm a fairly rational guy and realize that I'm not going to be able to compete at this level forever. Mm-hmm. So if it happens, it happens. First things first. I got Nogueira staring me in the face, and he's certainly no slouch. So, I mean, that's going to be a great fight on the 29th of August.
It certainly will be. Where is Brock, do you think, compared to a guy like Fedor at this point?
Well, I think Brock is going to pose issues for anybody with his physicality and athletic ability. I mean, it's just a rare thing to find a guy that size that moves the way he moves. The wrestling base is hard for a lot of guys to deal with, especially a wrestling base as big as his. So, I think he's going to be an issue for anybody, and he's continually getting better technically and finding better ways to take advantage of that athleticism and that size.
It's Afternoon Gridlock, ESPN Radio 1100. Our guest is Randy Couture. If you are successful against Nogueira and beat him, is this something that you would want down the line then, as another shot at Brock?
I would absolutely like another shot at Brock. I think, the first fight was going my way. I felt like I had things moving and was doing the things I'd trained to do, and I didn't anticipate him being as long as he is. He looks so big and thick. You don't really think about him being as long. An 81-inch reach is pretty dang long. I ended up getting caught, in the pocket with a right hand and knocked me on my keister, and that happens. That's the fight game.
How do you beat a guy like him with his size and speed?
Well, I think you definitely have to neutralize his ability to wrestle and establish that solid top position, because he's going to be hard for anybody to be underneath. I think if you have the footwork and the head movements, you can deal with him on his feet. But he's still not a terribly fluid, accurate striker. But he's certainly still a great big guy that you don't want to get hit by. So I think there's some areas there that you can find ways to get around him and beat him. I just got to be sharp.
Next Friday, 4 o'clock, you're going to be part of the 24-hour talk show to benefit the Caring Place here in Las Vegas, a facility on Jones between Tropicana and Flamingo that provides free services for those touched by cancer. And Randy, for people that might be bidding on your hour to sit in and do an hour of radio with you, let's say that they don't want to talk about the UFC. What do you do kind of away from the sport when you're not trading? Are you a movie guy? Do you like other sports that people might be able to talk about you with?
Well, I'm definitely, follow other sports. I'm not a huge fan of anything in particular, but I kind of keep my eye on what's going on in the sports world, certainly. I've had the good fortune to meet a bunch of the guys that compete in a lot of the other sports and kind of see what's going on there. I'm a big movie guy. I love to go to the movies, and now I've had the good fortune to actually play some characters and do some of that stuff, which shed a whole new light on movies. I love the outdoors. I like to hunt and fish, and I get a chance to do that every now and then. So those are all things that I'm into. And
when you fight Nogueira up in Portland, the fans up there, like for the Trailblazers and for even the minor league baseball team up there, those are some pretty rabid fans up there. And I would imagine that with the first UFC ever going up there, they're going to be pretty crazy that weekend, huh?
Absolutely. It's a very active population, number one per capita in bike riding, a huge running state. A lot of wrestlers come out of the Pacific Northwest and Oregon in particular. The Beavers are a great baseball team, and they follow the Trailblazers avidly, whether they're winning or losing or whatever's going on with them. So it's they're sports crazy up there.
Hey, Randy, can't tell you how much we appreciate the time. Good luck against Nogueira coming up in UFC 102, and we'll see you next Friday over at the Palms.
Thanks, appreciate it, guys.